How's the sickness in the Butler household?
It's good now. Everyone's good. So touch wood.
Well, enjoy it for the next 72 hours, buddy.
Yeah.
Kids, man.
Yeah.
No, when I spoke to Aaron yesterday, Arvo, he was sounding a bit more human, but it did sound like we had a RFK Jr. impersonator.
Oh, that's so funny. I tried to
Hey guys.
Hey Ash, how are you? Yeah, I tried to make Anna listen to a podcast with him when we were driving back from the Goldie, and his voice was just way too painful.
Yeah, it sounds like he's got one of those voice boxes. Hello, pleased to meet you. Aaron, you're alive.
Alive. Hey, Ron.
Hi.
Hey Aaron.
You look like shit, but you're alive.
Yeah, not much has changed then.
I've seen corpses in better condition than that, mate.
Oh, fuck. Better today, though. Still, I've got my sunnies on standby if it all gets too bright. I don't want listeners to think I'm just crying at our content. Oh, man, but I've been knocked out 3 days of just, sleeping, basically. Anyway.
Well, given the body knows the score, what's it trying to communicate to you?
You sound just like Myron. I don't know exactly.
Jack was just saying before you joined that his whole household is feeling good, and I said, all right, enjoy that for probably 72 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Does this mean you've got a date night booked for the weekend, Jack?
Oh yeah, no, we had it last weekend. We had to take Louis because I didn't tell you guys. So on Friday last week, Anna and Louis actually went to the doctor, finally get tested. And Saturday we got the results back, and they actually had influenza A. So then we couldn't shift Louis off to the grandma. So at least we got Perry off, and then we had to take Louis with us. But it was still just good to get out of the cabin. We just had really bad cabin fever.
Nothing like a quarantine date night weekend.
Yeah.
It is true that a change is as good as a holiday. I mean, even I was reflecting with Libby the other night. We are so lucky where we get to reside and spread our wings and whatever else. But actually, every now and then, you just got to get the hell out of the place because you just can't look at the same thing.
100%.
When are you coming down, Aaron?
Well, assuming we're okay to fly, I think Cruz is still testing. We've got to see if we're still positive for influenza B. But tomorrow morning, we're supposed to be on the 6 a.m.
Why would you?
We'll see.
6 a.m.
Because then, I love 6 a.m. flights because I love that time of day, and it's just sensational. But also, then you still get the whole rest of the day. I get to get work done and everything else. So
you realise that
Exactly.
you've been sick, though, right?
yeah, but it'll pass. I'm going to be totally fine.
You gotta.
Okay,
Should we get into it?
let's do it.
I just wanted to recap because I know it's something we've discussed before, but Jack and I were on a pitch call this week, and it happens quite regularly where a company's gotten some traction, and then we ask about go-to-market and lead generation, and with great pride, they puff out their chest and put their shoulders back and say, we do no marketing. We've not done any marketing. All of this is organic. That's how great the product is, and that's why we're raising capital. That's a really bad message, especially at our phase, because in the back of my mind, it's then, right, so you're going to use our capital to try and learn how to generate leads and how to do marketing and go through all of that pain on our dollar, knowing how hard it is and how hard it is to find great channels. It's like, at least have the decency to make something up.
Yeah, if there's true market pull and genuine virality, they're great. They're great signals. Fantastic, own it. And especially if you pre-seed seed, well done. But by the time we're looking at closer to that Series A, and I think even independent of that, even early, be experimenting on the side with you, building your funnel. Because at some point, that personal network, I think for me, the distinction is as well, a founder who says, oh no, it's been entirely my personal network, I've done this, as distinct from a full product, a full market pool. And it's yeah, but eventually your network is going to run out. And so you need to have that answer. And so I think a good founder, if you have both, right? You are being pulled by the market, you've got great networks, but also you're experimenting and building out your funnel and discovering what that is. It's essential. If you are building for growth and the type of exit we want to see, you have to have that piece.
I completely agree. I think the other point I would add is that knowing the strengths of your network and actually trying to also leverage your network as part of that test, as you're saying, Aaron, of try different messaging with your different networks. So you're actually learning and gathering feedback from people who, and you can actually be quite, I guess, transparent with, hey, we're looking to improve, we're looking to learn right now. You should just be testing it just to learn and grow and iterate.
Yeah, and I think I totally agree with everything you guys have said. So I think, yeah, just for founders, like when it's under $1 million, we've got to assume that it's the low hanging fruit. And then when you're coming to us saying that we haven't done any marketing efforts, that's the gap, because we're assuming that it is low hanging fruit and you're probably relying heavily on your existing network. So then we have to assume that win rates are going to go down and sales cycles are going to go up.
I think the other thing, even when you have great networks, to what you were saying, Ash, like I think this is what something founders miss. Let's say you've got great networks, and let's say they are, there's demand that's there. Capturing their why, like capturing their own language and the words they use, and then using that in advertising to actually target others in your network. So rather than doing, the outbound call and saying, "Hey Mary, we've been mates a long time. I know you're in this space. Check this out." What if you actually targeted them with some of your funnel activities to see if it works? So you're still leveraging your network, but you're actually building the mechanism for scale from day zero.
The other piece of that that I've just recently found with Simplify is when I'm getting a warm introduction from someone that says, "Oh, you need to talk to Ash." It's like, well, what did you say to them that got them interested to have the phone call with me? Actually finding out how other people are pitching your business and your service or your product to learn from what's actually sparking that interest as well. That's been a really good insight for me in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Founders often end up knowing their customers better than the customer does. They know the problems better than the customer does. And they end up using language that is technically right language, as in it is the problem, but the customer doesn't actually use that language, doesn't actually yet see the problem, and then there becomes this big disconnect. Let's jump into some other news. So Cut Through Venture 2025's Q2 report has been released. I've been messaging with Chris. We need to lock in a time to have a discussion with Chris. But I think broadly this Q2 report, I guess the one word I would summarize with is disappointing, because what's happened, it seems to be in the last month, it seems to be in May and June, we were tracking above 24 coming out of the gates in January. Then we had a little bit of a slowdown, but actually we're sort of back to 2023. And for listeners at home, the chart that I'm looking at is that it just plots the amount raised every year going back to 2020. And we've just had a bit of a slowdown in this last quarter, and most of that is to do with the last month. It was the deals announced has slowed across the board, although the deal size for the deals that are announced is up in across a range of the different series, Series A, Series B. I think that sort of aligns to our experience as well. We've just had a bit of a bad quarter for probably a couple of reasons that are a little bit out of our control. Anyway, what were your thoughts on those?
I was wondering if there was correlation also on that chart to kind of the changing government or some of the, I guess, policies that are also being talked about that could be implemented, so people could have potentially just drawn back and held on to capital.
Yeah, could have.
The other one as well, we always talk about 2021 being an outlier, but then actually looking at the graph, like just really hammered home how much of an outlier that year was. And for listeners listening at home, between like 2020, 2023 and 2024, total funding was between 3 to 4 billion. 2021 was upwards of 10 billion. Like, it was such an outlier.
And that's just going to still take some time for it to catch up.
Yeah, if you actually took out the 21 data in the first 3 months of 22, like that 22 chart correlates the others. But I found it really disappointing. And to your point, Don, like we've had 2 deals fall over in DD recently that had passed through IC we'd raised capital for, we were sitting on funds. And so it's disappointing. It's interesting. We're seeing good deal flow, but rounds are being delayed. Like, founders are putting things off. There's not strong momentum. People aren't closing rounds quickly. So what we're seeing in our own data correlates to this. But yeah, I was expecting a little uptick there to more correlate to the 24 vintage, because normally this time of year is where there is that uptake.
Well, I'm going to pretend we've got a little bit of movie magic. Let's welcome Chris into the conversation. Hi, listeners. Unfortunately, I totally dropped the ball with a lot of things happening and wasn't able to get Chris in time to splice something in. I'm hoping we'll be able to get him for next week because there's a lot of great stuff in this report to unpack. For those that haven't yet registered as a subscriber to Cut Through Venture, highly recommend that you do. Go to cutthroughventure.com, whack your email in there, and then you'll get the report as soon as it comes out. But we'll get back into it, and hopefully we can get Chris next week. Jesse Wu, who's now a columnist at the AFR, having spent some time in VC and then set up a business called Encore, which PR and brand management. She put up a post, put this prompt into Chat GPT, based on all the interactions we've had, estimate my IQ, which I did. I'd like you to do it now. And the thing is, you've actually got to push it. The first response, it seems to come back saying, I don't have enough information on you, which is a lie. So what you got to do is you got to say, I accept your reasoning, but I really want you to try, and then it'll spit it out. Have you got yours, Ash?
I'm nervous.
See a smile.
Low 130s.
Low 130s. And so what was its reasoning? It normally gives a reasoning.
It broken into verbal comprehension and working vocab, fluid reasoning and problem structuring, working memory and mental juggling, processing speed. And then it said, it gave like reasoning of like what it's observed in our chats and then how that typically maps. It says I juggle specialized vocabulary across AI, venture capital, compliance, real estate, software architecture, and kind of went through
you make up words is what it's.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of the dyslexia, but that's another bonus.
Aaron, Jack?
Mine's, first it came back and said, I can't estimate your IQ. Then I asked it to guess a range, and it said, based on everything so far, I'd estimate your IQ falls somewhere between 130 and 145 range. And then it said, based on high functioning, which doesn't sound true, analytically sharp, likely scoring well across verbal and logical reasoning domains.
Aaron?
I'm thankful it hasn't listened to the podcast. Mine actually gave an answer straight off the bat. It said, it gave a range at first, 125 to 135, and when I pushed for a specific number, it said 132. And then reasoning was strategic cognition, information compression, cross-domain mastery, and mental RAM. But I feel like this is being very generous.
Yeah, so my there's a flaw in the system because mine's come back at 130 to 140, and it gives all the similar. I have a feeling that I don't really trust the thing because it is programmed to make you feel good and feel special. And of all of the votes, so on this particular post, it's like 89% of people that have replied to Jesse's post are between 125 and 140. So
yeah,
it sounds like it just gives everyone like 120 to 140, except for Jack, who's an outlier.
Yeah, so it's saying 90% of the population are in the top 2%. But what a brilliant product strategy! It is.
It's scary though. I'm interacting with a whole lot of people that have gone, I put this into chat, and this is the response it's given me, and it's just like, whoa. Like, where is your critical thinking going? But part of it is, but we can't ignore it. It's here. We got to accept it. And Ash, you found this post from Jason Lemkin at SaaStr, and it says how the smartest founders are already winning with AI. And he did a podcast, but he broke up into 10 takeaways. And I thought this was actually really good. Takeaway 1 is that AI clones can outperform their human creators. Our SaaStr AI can outperform Jason Lemkin. Now, if people are listening that don't follow Jason Lemkin, like he is, he does a weekly podcast with Harry Stebbings. SaaStr's a global recognized brand in the SaaS space. He's got a massive following. And what they've done is they took 20 million words of his content and then put it into a GPT. The AI remembers everything across 12 years of content while humans forget. It can connect insights from different time periods that humans can't recall. Perfect memory combined with weighted content creates superhuman advisory, and users ask deeper, more vulnerable questions than they do to normal humans. Now that then flows into takeaway number 2 is that people can confess more to AI than they do humans. I was on a call a few weeks ago with a group of executive coaches, and these coaches, they're like the 15 grand a day to all the big end in town. And they were just having a conversation going, oh, no, humans would always need the human connection, and AI has its space, but people aren't really going to go and tell AI their deepest problems. That's what we're here for. And it's like, you are on the wrong side of history. If you think that this isn't going to replace big parts of that, you're in trouble.
You should have just asked to buy all their content and reference documents on the spot. We'll pay you 30 grand for that. No worries.
And put it, and they're popping up. I'm seeing it all over Facebook and LinkedIn now, where these well-known, like Chris Voss, who was one of the people on Masterclass, you can just go and get his AI chatbot, and I had to play with it. It's actually pretty cool. Number 3, traditional B2B software workflows and interfaces are dying. He's saying going from B2B apps to Chat GPT already feels dated. He's looking at a number of products where the whole interface is just getting destroyed. Number 4, 0 to 1 million in ARR is now much more likely, but the revenue is less stable. And I think that's right. And we're seeing that. We're seeing these companies come out of the gate, but that revenue is less stable. The churn is much higher. The durability is under question. And that's where DD is becoming a lot more important, especially in that early stage of talking with customers, like what's going to make you stay? Why won't you churn at the end of the contract? AI, number 5, AI is already eliminating many traditional roles. Totally seeing that. He's saying like ghostwriters gone, content reviewers, designers, BDRs, sales screening. They're using all of these tools in SaaSta. The great talent retention crisis. And so the challenge that everyone's going to be suffering is that if even OpenAI can't retain talent because Meta's coming in and just throwing around dollars like it's going out of fashion, what chance does everybody else have? And I think that is an important point, especially around founders upskilling to be able to do enough themselves, because the old world of just go and hire a reasonable programmer to do stuff, well, unless you've got some unbelievable budget, good luck. Many of the new generation won't have traditional jobs is number 7. Look, we've talked about that all the time. That's nothing new. Content creation without AI is dead. I think that's right. And I think content becomes easier on one hand, is going to become a lot harder to add value on the other. But if you're not using AI tools, even in the childcares, we've started rolling out some AI tools for the center directors to get better at creating some cool content to differentiate from other childcare centers. The $100 billion venture bet. VCs now expect $100 billion outcomes per fund. And why this matters, in the US, looking at the AI investment opportunities, it's a little different to here. But if your seed valuation is 60 to 100 million, then you've got to be clear that you've got some path to the $100 billion outcome. And then he ends at number 10, the fog of war opportunity. Similar to mobile and crypto transitions, everyone knows AI is huge, but no one knows exactly where the opportunities are. Historical context, mobile, obviously big, but winners were like Uber, and they look nothing like previous web winners. So that's the problem from pattern recognition. Crypto was a fringe belief. Most people missed it entirely. And AI consensus is huge, but it's completely uncertain in terms of execution. And so his conclusion was AI is quickly transforming into a tool to be the beginning stages of replacement across virtually every knowledge work function. And SaaSta's own use of AI demonstrates that they're not just automating tasks, they're creating digital identities and entities that can outperform humans. I'm going to put a link to this in the show notes. I think it's really important for founders and investors and business owners and parents with young children to actually go through each of these 10, because I think they're bang on.
Yeah, I think they're all bang on. And this is the here and now. I actually sent this I saw it in the notes and sent it to my family, trying to get them up to speed on this. I've created a little family chat called Aaron's AI Ramblings.
Love it.
I'm not getting much engagement.
But yeah, I've been driving my mostly Libby's family insane, where on one of the group chats, one of them has now left the group.
I just put another link on that might be worth putting in the show notes as well, which is kind of the counter view to this post. So I read both side by side, like right after each other, and I found it really interesting. But yeah, it's here.
I'll do that. What's your biggest one? What's the one that really jumps out for you?
Of the post that we just chatted through?
Of the 10, yeah.
For me, it's still number one, as in, AI clones can outperform humans. We have a whole product offering around that, particularly for executives. So for us, like, we're just spending so much time thinking about this and working on it that it's absolutely blowing my mind of how good it can get with proper context, with structuring of information. It's not something you can just click your fingers and it's going to do. You do have to put time and effort in. But for me, like, that one is just, it's blown my mind in terms of being able to leverage it as the executive who's leveraging it. So like Jason leveraging his for himself. But what's really been, I guess, positive and where we're getting a lot of really impactful feedback is we're then giving. The other thing that I was just thinking about as you were reading this is I was in a meeting yesterday on the B2B side and how everything's shifting and changing. It's changing to the point where I got a phone call of someone asking if I could build an AI voice bot to sit on hold with the ATO so that their team members don't have to sit on hold. And I was like, bot versus bot. Okay. Yeah. Leave it with me. Like, it's even thinking, and like, that's a client coming up with it and just going like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, leave it with me. Let's check it out. But like, how can you actually think about where there's massive time drag, where there's elements in your job or your business, like the childcare, I'm sure you spend hours just answering very similar phone calls. So it's like, how can you now start to capture the data to leverage? I think people just have to have the mental shift of thinking about things differently and capturing data and ideas versus just being like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. No, some good points there. What jumped out for you, Aaron?
Well, that last one, Ash, I've always thought there's a service called Handle My Complaint, which you basically outsource. When you have a complaint, they go sort it for you, which is great if it's a high value thing. But all the low value stuff, I always thought we should just employ a whole heap of retirees just to sit on phone calls for us and reclaim things. But this is the chance for an AI bot to go and handle all those gripes.
If you think of Mick Dempsey's Easy Legal.
Oh, totally.
Like, all of those little disputes that you have that you don't either have the knowledge or the time to do, you go to Easy Legal with its AI tools and its interface, and you put it in there, and then this tool, like the Terminator, goes and gets you the outcome against the person that you're pissed off against.
And that's the thing, like, where my head was going was like the shift in the value chain, right? Like when the cost of deployment of AI comes such that all these low value tasks or low value outcomes you can now just throw resources at through AI. But the one on the list for me, Don, the fog of war opportunity, like, this is where I think about this a lot, and I still see like that line. What did it say? Similar to mobile and crypto transitions, everyone knows AI is huge, but no one knows exactly where the opportunities are. And I look at VCs who got burnt by a lot of deployment into crypto, blockchain, tech, everything else. And I see a lot of VCs they actually do believe they know where the AI opportunities are, and they're deploying a lot of capital. I just think they're not going to get that capital back.
But part of that fog of war, my interpretation of that is also just around the amount of time and brain space you have. Like, in the childcare, at the end of the month, accounts sent out, hey, I'm missing these invoices from the credit card. Guess who it may have been. And there were 2 AI content creation tools that I bought that I was experimenting with, but then I just hadn't had time to go back to it. And it was like, oh shit, I haven't. And it's just like, I wonder what opportunities are going past, either because there's just not enough time or because I'm not structured properly to be more efficient. And it's that fog of war of, it's like, there's just this fog of the day-to-day stuff. And meanwhile, there's all this opportunity that you're not even seeing.
Yeah, and the emotion that comes with that, because you're seeing this pace, you're seeing this value creation. So there's this urgency to do something, but also knowing that there's so many data points you have to reference and try and process in that same time window.
So mine was the fog of war. And I suppose the reason that stuck out for me was these guys are at the bleeding edge of AI. And for them to then say they believe it's uncertain whether value actually accrues, like it's a good reinforcement for us in Aussie.
I wonder what Lemkin's Chat GPT IQ is. Well, speaking of AI and leadership and what's happening, there was a bit of a tussle. I don't know if you saw it last week, but Tom Humphrey from Blackbird, who's been on our podcast, great investor with Blackbird, and I think is fair to say really helped shape some of our verticalization thoughts around SaaS and AI. He put out an article that was in the AFR and then did a little LinkedIn post that said, in the public discourse, there is so much debate over policy, regulation, and what we're not doing as a country that it's easy to look past what is actually happening on the ground. And he puts forward that Australia is punching above its weight, and he puts some stats there. And he puts forward that we've got to be nimble as a country, thoughtful of how we place our bets and position for the broader opportunity. Some of the stats he puts in there, we're home to 0.6% of the population, yet 9% of APAC's working AI experts, and we're attracting talent at a big clip. We've got more homegrown foundational models released than most countries. So Tom puts forward hey, don't be so negative. We're actually in a leadership position. Cameron Partridge, who is a tech advisor, said, a reality check for Blackbird, Australia is not an AI leader. And he says, punching above our weight is a meaningless boast if we're still knocked out of contention by bigger players. He says, Tom's piece that Australia is already an AI leader reflects a comforting narrative, but one we should treat with real caution. These are the stories we tell to feel better, not get better. Tom was right to point out that AI is coming, and if we don't act, it will sail past us. The urgency is real, but calling Australia an AI leader risks overstating the current picture. We're not leading, we're participating. And there's a real danger of confusing the two. He says that with an affection for Australia. We're small, we may be high quality, but we're a contributor, and talent is not power. The challenge isn't the quality of investors, who in many ways have outperformed. It's that even exceptional VCs, who in many ways have It's that even exceptional VCs can't build what only governments can, which is sovereign infrastructure, scale compute, and long-term industrial capacity. This isn't a criticism of private markets. It's a recognition that some foundations require public investment. What are our thoughts on that? Because I must admit, I really like Tom. I like his approach. I like what he shares. He's really helped us shape. But I'm more in Cameron's camp here.
Me too. So I think AI PhDs that Tom anchors to there, like when I think of people I know at Anthropic and elsewhere at the very top of their game, they don't have PhDs in AI. They've trained across from something else. And I also think it's one thing to talk about AI experts per capita, but if you actually look at growth rates, like I actually just asked GPT, like growth rates in AI talent per capita. And like UAE, Canada, Singapore are just hoovering up talent at the moment. So, and I think the other thing is the infrastructure layer. So there's a policy layer, there's government incentives, there's the infrastructure. Look at what the US is doing with their internet grid at the moment, with their power grid completely restructuring across the whole country for AI data centers. Like all the other layers of the stack, we're doing nothing. We are not competing on. So
my fear is that I think on one level, Tom is right with all of like Heidi Health and all these great little companies. I can just see that's like this early shot out of the gates that isn't sustainable because all the stuff that we really need to be a powerhouse isn't there.
I agree. Like I love Tom. I think it is important to recognize where we do have strengths. And I think, the data that's come out the last few weeks confirming exactly what we've been saying, that we're great, we're really capital efficient, we produce great companies, but that's different to this AI arms race.
One of the other points I want to make is we need both. I want Tom cheerleading. That's his role, right? You got to drum up all the good things that are happening to make investors feel good, to make sure that capital does flow. So we want that cheerleading. I think we also need the hush light a day. I want both. I want both of the perspectives. Ash, Jack?
I'm definitely more in Cameron's boat. I think we've had a good start, but we need to keep pushing the envelope.
I've got nothing to add there, Don.
Now, what's happening, especially in Europe and US and bigger markets, and I'm sure this is happening to some level in Australia, but Harry Stebbings, Jack, you found this post a couple of days ago. He said, we wrote a $5 million check in 24 hours of meeting a founder. Here's the crazy story. At 5 p.m., Paul Bonnet on his team finds a company through Harmonic. At 6 p.m., Harry reaches out to the founder on LinkedIn. The founder says he's already got a term sheet that he's going to sign at the end of the day. He responds saying, if you're going to get married, don't you want to make sure it's the right person? He responds by sending a Google link chat. So at 8 p.m., they speak. He's in the rain under a tree in Hyde Park. He decides that the founder is clearly brilliant. At 9 p.m., Kieran meets and shares the same perspective. Marius is special. This is the founder. At 10 p.m., another one on the team meets Marius, the founder. Same thing. We're leaning hard in and we got to move. At 11 p.m., there's a 20 VC partner meeting, an agreement that they've got to go to Germany the next morning to go and meet with this founder. At 6 p.m., Kieran jumps on the plane and flies to Germany to spend time with this founder and the team. He's there from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. And then the team in London that's not in Germany does 21 reference calls with customers. That gives them the confidence that by 5 p.m. they do a term sheet for $5 million. And Harry ends it that to win today, you've got to be aggressive and fast. Your slowness is his opportunity. When I first heard that, I thought, God, we are in the cycle of $5 million checks in 24 hours. But actually, when you go through it, if that is true, and everyone in the team met the founder and they spent a full day there and they did 21 reference calls, all that's happened is a lot of that has been compressed, and it's only the term sheet. So there'll still have to be DD and all of that kind of stuff. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Process compression is...
I love it. And I love his comment. To win today, you have to be aggressive and fast. Your slowness is my opportunity. Like I love that sentiment. And I think it's something we need more of in Australia.
And that's why we need the fund. Tribe won't survive in the syndicated model. We're still going to keep the syndicated model on the side, but we have lost too many good deals because we like it, we do it, we have to put together the IM, we have to go to investment committee, we go out to LPs. LPs are busy. We've got some great LPs that jump in quite early, but to fill around, you've then got to herd the cats. Meanwhile, someone else sitting on fund capital goes, yeah, I like it here.
Yeah.
Another key point in this one, like what you said, Don, they didn't breach the process. Like they still did the process despite the urgency, whereas what we've seen where deals go wrong is when the urgency means they skip the due process. But well done to the team.
The other point that I love is like, this is Harry Stebbings. Like he's got all the deal flow in the world and he's still moving that fast to get on a plane, to get to Germany, to get a deal done.
This is why you've always got to evaluate the founder and their trauma responses. Knowing a bit about Harry and his background, there's someone that's still running away from a lot of stuff from his childhood, and they're the people to back because they've just got this drive. It doesn't matter how much money they've got in their bank account.
Absolutely that. I loved his line, like what made me laugh. If you are getting married, don't you want to make sure it is to the right person?
Yeah.
Like, it's like a line from a rom-com or something. But it's very true of Harry's style.
Loved it. I was like, yes. So good. So powerful. I think talent's going to move this way too. You know, you're going to hear someone's looking for a job or not really looking, but's getting headhunted, has an offer in front of them. And I think you're going to have to move at this pace.
Well, I remember, this is going back like 8 years, but, you know, Joel Pobart, when he was at Facebook, used to run competitions on different programming websites, and it was purely for recruitment. And then, so he would see who completed the challenges. He'd get all this data on how quick and however many lines of code and all this sort of stuff. Then he would fly to events where he knew they were, stalk them, sit next to them in the audience, chat to them. And this is a guy that was already managing something like 5,000 engineers. And that was the competition back then. for talent. I totally agree with you, Ash. I think the competition for talent is going to become fiercer and fiercer, and this compression of time.
Harry is one of the people that have built a great audience that he's leveraging. Same with Jason from SaaStar. Now, a local Jason Andrew, who I saw did a post, he was forwarding a post from Nathan Barry, who's the founder and CEO at Kit. He said, I earned $228 million in the creator economy. Here's one idea that made it possible, the audience shortcut. Most people chase followers. I discovered something that creates real businesses. Most people try to build a crowd, which is random people paying attention. What you actually need is an audience, the right people paying attention. A handful of the right people creates more opportunities than thousands of random followers. And what Jason said is he raised 8 figures of debt and equity in 5 months, primarily from his audience on LinkedIn. Jason said, building an audience is a great cheat code. Go and do it. And I think that's right. Bluntly, that's what we're trying to do, whether it's LinkedIn, podcast, whatever else, is try and build an audience of trying to provide some differentiated value. It's differentiated. Sometimes it misses the value bucket and strays into some interesting territory. But I'm yet to have an LP or anybody come up and say, that's it, I'm out. So we haven't, I think we've balanced it all right.
Got to build an audience and value, deliver value first. That point of that, which is not just a crowd, but actually an audience. It's making sure it's the right people. And this is something where I do see, I've fallen into this trap, and I've seen founders do this where they index to the size of the following, not actually knowing whether it's the right group of followers. And it's hard to actually know your ICP and identify it, because often there's good verbal conviction behind what you're doing, but it doesn't translate into meaningful transfer of value. So, but yeah, really good point.
Well, in threading it, like AI can really help you build an audience. I'll just play this. For those at home, this is an ad for Liquid Death, which Liquid Death is just a can of water. But this ad is 100% made by AI and is not only leveraging their audience, it's creating an audience from scratch. Let me...
Afternoon, son. Want to take a guess why I pulled you over? Oh, it's not what you think. It's Liquid Death. There's sparkling mountain water. Wow, you weren't kidding. That is refreshing. But it's not why I pulled you over. Oh, boy. Is it the busted taillight? Nuh-uh. Is it because of the license plate? Nope. Shit, man, it's the dead guy, right? No, sir. Is it the human trafficking, perhaps? Nuh-uh. Man, is it the truck thing? I don't think so. Well, what is it then? The robbery? No. The bumper sticker? No. It's the roadkill, isn't it? Haven't heard of it. The chemical waste? Nuh-uh. Is it the roller coaster seat? Is it the cult thing? Absolutely not. Hell no. All right, I give up. What is it? It's because it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Kevin. Dad, you remembered. Happy birthday to you. You're the best dad ever. To you.
All made with AI. That will have been somebody with a prompt. A, I found that obviously funny, but B, if you're a professional in a whole lot of industries and you're not on the front foot learning AI and you think that you're going to survive, good luck.
Love it.
I love it. I'm so curious how much prompting went into that, but that is such a good ad.
And they said they used Google. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Google VO. Like
Yeah.
you can throw your credit card in for $150.
Yeah. No, we were playing around with this idea because we don't have an office. And I was like, I'm not paying for an office. Like our investors have offices. We can go and sit in there, like, or work from home, work from a cafe. And I was like, but what we should do is we should create an AI office so that all of our content is produced in the same look and feel. People are perceiving that we have this beautiful office, trying to give some type of vibe to it as well. So, you can be creative of like, what are you going to use it for? How are you going to build the vibe? There's so much content that can be created now. It's awesome.
And I think what's going to happen is the content, even in the business perspective, the best content is going to be the content that has some human aspect, and this isn't in the schedule, but I don't know if you noticed, but Cheryl Mack from Aussie Angels, she posted their first half results. So for the first half, Aussie Angels has done 10.7 million across 32 syndicates, 49 deals, 475 checks, and close to 350 angels backing early stage founders. And the Aussie Angels model is she's effectively a syndicate manager where if you want to spool up your own syndicate, she'll provide you the infrastructure and take a clip of the ticket. But she ended it in the first half. PS also got married, and she put a couple of pictures, like nearly 600 likes, 103 comments. And I went back and had a look at some of her other content that she posted, and it's like a fraction of that engagement. And so simultaneously, she's demonstrating that Aussie Angels is not only here, it's doing really well. Whereas the last, let's have a look at the prior posts, 20 likes, 30, 40, 100, but nothing like 600. And so I think there's that human aspect that we're going to have to find a balance in with this whole audience thing. And congrats for getting married, Cheryl.
Yeah, bloody well done. Like that, it was such a good post. But I think these are the types of posts where it's interesting, right? Like the human dynamic. So you see that post from Cheryl. It's great that AI can generate all this content, but ultimately we're these weird humans that need to be part of a community to protect ourselves from being eaten by bears and lions. And so the exchange of value, like a contribution or a comment or a like to something like this, is going to get more interaction than some other post.
Now, just on building audiences, Better Shares, what does Better Shares actually do? I think they're wealth advisory. Better Shares is a leading fund manager specializing in ETF traded funds and other Australian securities. They just shelled out $8.5 million for the Equity Mates podcast. They've bought the podcast, Holus Bolus. So there's a large entity saying, I want an audience. It was reported in Capital Brief by Jack Derwin. Equity Mates describing themselves as two idiots who had no idea what they were doing. Alec and Bryce just closed one of Australia's first big podcast sales. I really connected with the idiots who had no idea what they were doing, and that fills me with great strength and confidence.
There's hope for us yet.
I think there's a number of things here. One, I think the value of that audience. Two, their story is no different to anybody else in this game, is that they really had nobody engaging with them prior to like hundreds of episodes, but they stuck with it. And then they had something that was broad enough to appeal to a large enough audience. And then now a company of significant size sees the value in that audience. Whether Better Shares kills it, because what normally happens when an aging company tries to buy something for its own benefit, they tend to remove the essence that made it great. But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, I had the same cynicism. I think it just comes from pattern recognition of previous acquisitions. But look, hopefully it survives and thrives.
If Better Shares are listening, could do you a deal.
We'll start with sponsorship to build a relationship.
Yeah. I told you when Chris Gillings was helping me through some of the sponsorship stuff that there were some sponsors that would want editorial involvement, and he suggested that they may not work in our environment, which I appreciated and I accept.
Chris knows as well.
Now, when you're doing all of that, another Jason Lemkin post that I saw, whether you're building an audience, building a channel, building a business, whether you're in AI, whatever you're doing, it's going to be hard. And there are schools of thoughts where you want founders that have done something before, that have some insight. Then there are schools of thought where you want first-time people that are totally naive because they will run through walls that others wouldn't. What Jason says is Zoom, the founder knew the space, did the same thing a second time. Slack, however, founders didn't know business software and they were actually starting a gaming company that they pivoted. There's multiple ways to success. Just keep going. Don't quit. Hire great people. Don't run out of money. And I think it's that last line that sort of just is probably the best piece of advice there is don't run out of money.
Rule 0, don't get dead.
I don't really like the just keep going and don't quit. Because with the Slack founders, had they have kept trying to build what they were building, they would be dead. But they actually built a different tool. The Zoom founder had some confidence that the product that they were building actually had some demand because they had done it before. I just get really nervous about the don't give up. And we've discussed it before. It's like, don't give up energetically, but if something's not working, you got to stop doing it, and you've either got to pivot or you got to do something else. But this little video sort of reminded me a little bit of that when a founder says, I've found a problem. I'm the first to market and my product is the best. For those at home, this person's got a quad bike with triangular wheels. It is true that they are first to market. It is true that that product doesn't exist anywhere else. But a triangle wheel on a quad bike is not functional, and you should pivot. You should give up. You shouldn't try to hire great people, and you should run out of money.
But Don, let me tell you all the reasons why my product is superior.
If you're in a swamp, would the triangles like form paddles?
Potentially.
That's the only thing I took out of it. It's like, is this for like muds, like surfaces where you need more grip? My main takeaway was I was concerned he wasn't wearing a helmet. But
I reckon it'd go upstairs pretty well.
I love that. Like all of the stuff we're trying to go through and share lessons, and the concern is his helmet.
quad bikes are dangerous.
Concern for the founder, though. It's good.
Now, linking into the don't run out of money, sometimes venture debt, if you're a business that is designed that can handle venture debt, sometimes venture debt is a way to go. And I don't know if you saw the article, but Tractor Ventures announced that it has surpassed the $100 million mark of lending to tech companies in just 4.5 years by backing businesses that fall through the cracks of conventional financing. Matt Allen told Capital Greed, he said it's effectively people who aren't spicy enough for venture, but too spicy for banks. And so they're pitching themselves in that middle there. And I think that's right. I think it's also venture debt does work quite well with venture for certain types of businesses, especially around hardware. But it says the Melbourne-based lender has supported over 250 companies since launch with an average loan size of nearly 400,000 to businesses generating between 2 and 20 million. These are not really startups, but scale-ups heading towards profitability and growing. The milestone puts Tractor ahead of some venture firms and comes as Tractor expands beyond its original growth capital product. It's now launching a working capital lines of credit and R&D lending. And I thought that was interesting because they're spreading their wing, but wow, there's a lot of people heading into R&D lending. It's going to be interesting to see what rates do in R&D lending, because compared to a few years ago, I could rattle off 15 providers at the moment.
Yeah, big shift. I think the next one will be secondaries. I think if we get a couple of IPOs away, which is still questionable, and the secondary, that like there's more liquidity, I think there'll be a bigger shift to secondaries markets as well. I think we'll see a lot of funds setting up there.
I think it's great that they've reached that milestone. It's really helpful for the ecosystem. They've always been somebody that's always active. They're always at every event, and for some people, it's something to consider.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, it's great to see another bucket of capital in the capital stack that's being deployed. Like, it's awesome.
Jack, Ash. Now it's at this point I need to admit to you that last week's episode, after the echo issue, the rest of the episode didn't work out.
Okay.
I blame each of you, because when we connected back in after the echo issue was sorted, neither of you said, has record been pressed?
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, that is awesome. I do remember actually exiting and not getting the usual prompt and thinking my thing had crashed and I might have to get the message saying re-upload.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, well, a fooled man can't be fooled again.
Wait, so how long was the episode last week?
We ended up with like 34 minutes of recording stuff, and then I managed to still build in the Glengarry, Glen Ross,
How did
Peter
you get to
Thiel.
45 minutes?
Because Don's a magician.
Yeah, so in the post edit, I still brought
Is
it
it just
together
you
and
talking to yourself?
still did some charts.
Love it. Well played.
But one of the what it meant is there were some articles that were dropped because they didn't get recorded, and I just wanted to still do a shout out to Trenna Probert after Trenna announced that her and her husband had put Super Fierce into liquidation. In her post, she included that in late 22, her co-founder and head of product, Craig, who is also her husband, suffered a devastating bilateral stroke. He was in a coma for several days and for a long time didn't know if he would survive. Most people were unaware, as she wanted to respect his privacy. Now, with his permission, she's sharing this pivotal part of Super Fierce's story, as Craig's long, hard-won recovery deeply impacted all our lives. She said that she's not just a founder, a leader, and advocate for women. Trenna's also a wife, a mother who became a carer overnight, making our startup journey even more challenging. Yet we pressed on, she says, because we deeply believed in the difference we were making, and that our mission, our team's livelihood, and our customers' financial well-being all mattered. In the end, they made the regretful decision to place Super Fierce into voluntary liquidation. There was just a couple of things we discussed last week. One, just sharing what occurred and the reality behind it is, I think, very helpful in the ecosystem. I'd done a bit of stuff with Trenna to try and be helpful. There had been some shareholders that had come on board that were not being helpful, that hold themselves out as real advocates and have developed a certain brand, but behind the scenes, not so much.
I always associate the name Super Fierce just with Trenna herself. Like, just an absolute powerhouse, straight talking, no bullshit, good vibes, good human. This is really sad to see the outcome, like going into voluntary liquidation, and having put something into liquidation myself, I know the emotion that comes with that, but excited to see what she does next. And just someone that you genuinely want to see succeed, because they are just such a super fierce human.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to the future, because out of these really difficult times, what tends to come is some insights, some opportunities, and some strength. So I look forward to helping where we can. But yeah, I'm mindful of time. And so I'll move some of the articles to next week. Let's just jump into some charts then. So this chart, for those at home, this says the power law at play. Figma's seed investors are riding a 240x uplift in their original investment. The seed investors, that they had 16.8%. Then Series A, Greylock had 15%. Then Series B was Kleiner Perkins at 14%. Series C, Sequoia. Series D, ACZ. And so the seed investors, they effectively worked out to be $0.0878 a share. So that's what, close to 10 cents. And they're getting $21 back. That's, and you've made this point before, Jack, it is a power law, and when it works, it works.
And most of the gains come at the very end. Like, you look at the valuation uplift between Series D to E.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you'd cashed out at C, okay, you've 10 times your money, but then you would have missed out on the 240 times your money. And
but even for someone like Sequoia coming in at the Series C, right, at $1, to then ride into a Series E, like that's a really nice uplift for a company that has proven demand, very clear trajectory of where they were going.
And that's a good point, Jack. And you make this point all the time, because we come across a lot of investors who balk at the valuation on the entry without doing the reverse engineering from the exit backwards. So we, like, looking at someone like Sequoia coming in at that val. Now, we're not talking about the justification of the val at that time, but the point is you can still achieve huge returns if at the exit point. And so looking at the reverse engineering the exit back to the current val, rather than just purely indexing off the current val.
And in a conversation I had this week with someone, they were saying, well, with US and other investors, why would they look at an Australian fund? Because, all the big companies and great ones come out of the US. It's like, no ordinary person is getting anywhere near any of these companies, because the likes of a Greylock, Index, Kleiner Perkins, Sequoia, A, they don't take private money anymore. B, it's mostly endowments. C, it's even endowments can't get in. So a lot of these big returns that people talk about, especially in the US, you just can't get access to it. Whereas Australia is actually, per capita, a unicorn factory that actually funds like ours have a real opportunity to get access to these deals at the early stage. And that's part of the value proposition. But just saying, people in the US wouldn't look here because of US unicorns. The market is so big and competitive, your average person isn't getting anywhere near it. This chart is WeWork share price is now down 99% in 2 years. This is my biggest embarrassment, because I never took a short position out on WeWork. Like, this was such a layup.
Very predictable, right?
Commodity product subject to competition. I'm embarrassed. But anyway, for listeners at home, so this is the Bitcoin market cap, which obviously therefore implies price, then all other cryptocurrency market caps. And you can see up until like early 24, they tended to rise and fall together. Like if one was up, the other was up. But now if you have a look at the chart from 24 through to now, Bitcoin is leaving other cryptocurrencies behind. It's just standing out on its own, and people are going, Bitcoin is not the rest of the market, and these alternative ones aren't coming anywhere near. And then this chart is interesting because this is the percentage of all ETFs that are gold ETFs. And you can see in 2006, there was a bit of a gold ETF rush where it went from 2% up to 8% in the course of 6 years? But since 2012, it's been dropping, and it's down just sub 2%, and it's been hovering between 1% and 2%. And it's just, I wonder if some of the later thing is because gold is seen as a reserve asset, people are getting more comfortable that Bitcoin is a reserve asset. It'll be interesting to see what quantum computing does. But even though gold has doubled in the last little while, and you would normally expect ETFs to respond, they haven't. Now, because of the recording issue last week, I just felt that this was too important not to include. Just the reminder that this chart had the study of the fact that if you're a man with a younger wife, statistically you are likely to die later. And if you're a man with an older wife, you are likely to die earlier, is what this study actually demonstrated. And on this call, we have both ends of the barbell. The chart for those at home, the risk of dying for a man by age gap with wife, 10 years and older, the risk, like compared to 10 years and younger, the risk is like 50% more. Like it's significant. I just thought it was an important one to share.
I appreciate it, Don. I did find a lot of comfort in this, given I'm at the top end of that spectrum. I shared it with Mara, and she's like, well, what about if it's a German wife? Does that change the stats at all? And then she also asked, from her perspective, what's the impact on the wife to have a husband who's 10 years older?
I have a feeling it's not going to be good.
No.
So what if passive income isn't a myth? We're just not using the right tools. I don't know if you've noticed, there's a website called Make an Influencer where you can go and create your own influencer models. You write the backstory and bio using Chat GPT. You build a fan base on Insta and OnlyFans or whatever. You automate the replies with ManyChat, and you collect the payments with Stripe. So what this person had put forward is that using all AI tools, you should be able to create AI humans and create passive income using all AI tools.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this was already happening.
No, it is happening. That's what I'm saying.
It is.
It is happening. Like there are so many of these influencers that are actually AI that are being monetized, and people don't realize it. And notice everyone's very quiet. I hadn't done it for a little while, but here's just some one-liners. They're more dad jokes than anything. The word homeowner has the word meow in it. So good luck pronouncing that ever again. Okay, nothing. All right.
I'm practicing it on you.
Okay. The man who invented the Ferris wheel never met the man who invented the merry-go-round because they traveled in different circles.
Oh, that's a good fair joke.
Stick with me. Most people have heard of Karl Marx, but very people know his sister, Anya. She was an Olympic runner. Her name is still referenced at the start of every race. Come on, Ash and Jack. Think it through. On your marks.
I love how you think they're not thinking it through enough.
Well, have a look at their faces. They were staring as if it wasn't the... You've now got it. Confirm, Ash, that you didn't get it to begin with and a bit of prompting.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I blame the dyslexia.
Your IQ is too high.
I accidentally woke Libby up when I found this and then just started laughing. She asked me to leave. Anyway, that brings us to an end.
And we've hit record, so good job.
Yeah. What are we looking forward to?
I'm off to Melbourne to watch the Crows play on Saturday. Catch up with a couple of friends. Just a real quick trip, but yeah, there's nothing to do when it's cold. So we figured, well, let's go somewhere even colder and watch footy again.
The British and Irish Lions are playing in Adelaide this weekend, so I'm going to watch that. And I got a good mate from school. He's actually playing against them, so we get to watch him play.
That's awesome. We did also have tickets for that, but Tim forgot that and booked tickets to Melbourne. So
You have tickets for the Lions and you're going to Melbourne.
yeah, because Tim thought the Crows game was took the. Yeah.
Did you sell your tickets?
Yeah, we sold our tickets, but I voted to stay and go to the Lions because it doesn't happen all the time. But
I was going to say, I'd have taken them. I'm looking forward to not being sick and Monday seeing the London Mission crew, catching up with them and doing a bit of a debrief event.
And me, right? Like,
of course. You both. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that should be a lot of fun.
Oh, your enthusiasm is overpowering.
Don, do you feel like we're missing out? Do you have some FOMO?
I do actually have FOMO. I had a look at my Monday, Tuesday to see if I could reschedule a few things and be part of the coolness. But unfortunately, have a number of rather large plates that are being spun. And some of the portfolio support stuff has really ramped up. Like yesterday, Jack and I had a chat in the afternoon, and I don't know if I sounded the way I felt, Jack, but I was spent. I'd had like close to 8 hours trying to give it my all, and I was done.
You've been putting a lot of time in recently, Don, with the portcos. Like it's
really good though, because the challenges they've got are all the challenges you want. The ones that hurt are the challenges you don't want. But when you've got people that are finding their straps, and now we've got those growth challenges and culture, and you're having to go through structure, and you're having to upgrade some of those managerial systems, you're having to bring groups of people together, and you've got to make sure that some underlying conflict is constructive and not destructive. It's all the awesome stuff, but you've got to be on your toes, and yeah. So no, Ash, I couldn't get down, but I'm looking forward to. My wife and I have a night away on Saturday night for a couples retreat thing. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm so looking forward to that for you, buddy.
Well, I'll report back. What are you giggling at, Jack?
He's never failed to surprise me, Don.
And today we have our first investor call to talk about the fund. So I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, I am
Very
too.
much looking forward
And
to
we're gonna do some prep after this episode, so we don't embarrass ourselves.
I feel like you should have not said that. You can cut that.
No, this podcast is all about how the sausage is made.
Transparent VC.
We're already ready. What are you talking about? We've been getting ready for this day for the past 6 months.
Yes, but you can always be readier. It's sharpening the tool and being on point. And
All right, team.
Cool.
On your
See you
marks.
guys.
Get that.
see us.